Generic greetings, everyone. This is Scott. This will be the first upload about a project that I just started to make. It's a choose your own adventure. In case you guys aren't familiar with those are those old-fashioned books that were basically like single-player RPGs. You'd get the book and you'd read a little passage, and it would say like, if you choose to do this action, flip to this page. If you choose to do this action, flip to this page, and so on and so forth. So as you go through, you don't go through pages in order like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 like you would in normal books. You might flip to page 72 and then back to 41 and then up to 63 and however else. And how you went about that was basically how you progress the story. So it was the books weren't necessarily printed linear, but they progressed the story through that mechanic, so you don't just read it front to back. And also then there's like decision trees and, things or reasons to reread the book because you missed it, kind of like a game, you replay a game. They also would have a lot of like pen and paper RPG styled elements where like you could have dice rolls. You could have like on one of them it was like a page with numbers and you randomly spin your finger and stop, which I personally didn't like because it was kind of hard. Like you knew where the good numbers were, and it's kind of hard to like trust yourself, or like, and also like you just did your finger randomly. I don't know, it's still not really random to me. And you'd have to keep track of inventory items, which is kind of a pain because you'd be reading the story and you're like, oh right, half hour ago I did get a rope that was this. So you forget what you have, you forget what it does, forget like certain elements, especially if like you read the book and then a week later come back to it. Like it's you all have to take good notes, which is fine, but it was kind of a pain. Also, like, the combat of it would be a little weird. Like I said, it could be dice rolls. It could be like you just straight up take this much damage and you have to track it. I really like those kinds of books, but obviously there was things about it I didn't like. I didn't like so much the manual process. I really like the fact that you read the book and it's story driven, and typically there's a lot more avenues to do things than in most games because it's all basically the entire content is the story. It's not obviously about graphics and whatever. I mean, if you're reading a book, you picture it in your head, and this is trying to be an analog of that. As you can tell with this lovely program, there is no graphical user interface, so to speak. Way later on down the road, I will try to add that. I'm going to try to add, more features, make it do a lot more of the things that I think need to be done, and fix bugs and graphic. The user interface will be one of the last things I add. This is more going to go out there just to see if people want to help work on this project, or if they want to, write the book, or just what interest there is, or whatever. So the point of this is to read those books, and it's going to be made in a way that's designed to be moddable. A person that doesn't want to program can build their book in my program, but then read their book and play the game. So with that being said, there's obviously going to be some files and everything else that has to go with it. So yeah, look at all this stuff, but there's a couple main files. Like you can set up a shops is one of the elements, so I'll go ahead and open that, and you can see that they have shop names, they have greetings, they have a type, and then they have a buy and a sell modifier based off the item, and it'll tell you if they can buy or sell illegal goods. So that might be something that you like try to fence something, and that person is like, hey, like you're selling me something that's illegal, and they do not like that. Or they'll be like, hey, yeah, sure, I'll buy illegal stuff, and you have a great way to fence your products. Here's like the items, and all these are CSVs, so you can even open them if you don't have Excel. You can even open them in Notepad. I prefer Excel just because it's a little easier to read, but it's a pretty simple format. So you have like the item name, the type that it is, the health is relative, so if it adds health, it will do +2 health, +1 mana, and you'll see that they have all these stats and the text that you'll buy it. So all the elements of the book, for the most part, are going to be in these kinds of files. So it'll know which part to flip to, and it'll read it so the end user doesn't have to look up the stats. Like if you're like, okay, what's the bread? And I have to add health. How much health does it have again? You don't have to do all that. It just says, okay, you eat the bread, you gain 3 health. And it's a weight of 1 and the size of 1, so you have a little bit of the inventory capacity and materials. So for example, if you were fighting like a werewolf and it was silver, you could say like, hey, is the sword made out of silver? If it is, do X number of damage more, that kind of thing. Now, not all these things are obviously implemented, but I'm just showing you, later on what I'm going to try to do with it. And the location is obviously if it's equipable. So again, all of this is not fully fleshed out, so don't expect that. But over time, depending on what feedback I get from you guys, I'll prioritize certain things over others, or if there's a certain feature that you want that I wasn't planning, I'll do that. And then you have the actual book itself, which will be book.ini. So this is the book format. And so this would basically be the equivalent of page 1, page 2. You have the title, you have the health that resolves. So this would be like if you fall into a trap, or like you want one of those things where each player passively heals a little bit each time. It's very common in games, if it costs gold. And then I'll go through some of this other stuff, and these are the options. So this would be like flip to this page. Like, do you want to do this? Great, go to that page. And then you just tell it, and then it'll flip to that page, and you don't have to worry about all that. So with all of that being said, I will go ahead and go over some of the base functions. So one function I have is list, and this will tell you all the functions that I currently have in the program. So you see alive, author, cheat. Cheat would be obviously you're going to put like in the cheat code. Author is how you write the book. Alive, don't really worry about it for now. Combat is combat. Delete is delete save. Dice was kind of the preliminary for combat, but just in case you want to have like a coin flip, or you want to have a dice roll or whatever, you can say go to the dice. Go to is basically the actual reader, the main part. Flip to page, this, go to that. Inventory is inventory. List is this function. Load is a load save. New is a new game. Save is obviously save. Shop is shop. And status is like if they're alive, if they're dead, and quit is to quit the game. So let's go ahead and go into like a new game. So I'm just going to type in new, which is with this function right there. And would you like to start a new game? I'm going to type yes. Hero's name. I can be like John Smith. Gender male. And then you have 35 stat points. And it tells you a little bit of the descriptor of what it does. So strength helps with health and toughness. Now, health is obviously your hit points, and toughness is in combat your damage reduction. You can use these kind of stats differently. So if like a person, if you were playing a book and you go up to like a door and it's stuck and it says, hey, if you have a strength of 6, you can push the door open. Or if all of a sudden, gas fills in the room and, you're getting poisoned, if you have a certain toughness, you can get to the other side and escape, and so on and so forth. So just for this, I'm just going to go ahead and do a 5. Perception, kind of the same thing, like a Dungeons and Dragons, thing, like, hey, like, do you spot this thing? Roll a perception or whatever. This would be your perception of how good you are at it. I'm just going to go ahead and put 5. Oh, and for accuracy and initiative, accuracy is obviously how well you're going to hit, and initiative in this system is not only like turn order, so like who attacks first, but how often you get to attack. So if you have twice the initiative of someone else, you get, in theory, 2 attacks off, assuming you have the energy and everything else in line. But that you get the opportunity to attack twice if your initiative is twice as high as the other person's. Intelligence helps with dodge and luck. And luck is pretty much at this chance of, you could use it for role playing, like, okay, you get X number of gold, or you get slightly better items, or whatever. And you also can get it as in combat. It is, if you do a successful hit, you have a chance to basically roll the same die. So if you're rolling like a 1d6, you get a successful hit, you get a chance, and if you pass that chance, you roll another 1d6 for damage. So it's a crit. Intelligence you could use for like XP gain, or if you're talking to someone, you have the X number of intelligence. And again, not all these features are fully implemented, but this is the big dream of it, so just be warned. Dexterity helps with accuracy and dodge. Okay, went over those already, so I'm going to do 5. Endurance is pretty much a little bit like stamina and how like constitution. And resolve, I'm gonna be, that's like mental toughness in a way. And sociable, it'd be like bartering and charisma and everything else. Now, in case you didn't catch it, those traits I'll spell spiders, so that way I have my own unique way of stats. As far as I know, it's unique at least. And that way, you know, it's not necessarily Dungeons & Dragons, it's not Pathfinders, it's not, you know, Diablo or whatever. It's my own little system, so it can be changed to how other people want it to be used, and it's not going to cause problems, and you know, it's a little bit more of an in-house thing. So now I'm going to go out and show off combat, and combat right now is pretty basic. There's no weapons, no way to load opponents, and it's only 1 versus 1. So if I'm going to actually give myself a fair fight, this guy's person's actually going to have the same exact stats as me, because the formula for stats is when it went above and it told you what item they go into, you get 2 times the 2 stats that go into this one category. So in this case, accuracy, plus 10 at the end. So your base stats, if you put 5 in everything as like a quote-unquote level 1, would be 30s across the board. And you see that it just rolls all of this. So this is all the combat. So I try to highlight the interesting text. So you get like opponent dodges, you critical attack 4.2, opponent hits you for 1.4, and at the end you have the end. And round 163, which to me rounds are basically seconds. So in 160 seconds, I killed my opponent. And it looks like the last hit was a critical for 3.5 points of damage. So critical attack is successful attack with a successful luck roll. So since I did 3.5, I'm guessing I did like a 1 and a 3 or a 2 and a 2, because it's not that much points. And he would have done a 30% damage reduction with his toughness. And then over these numbers here is the overall end of combat. So I started with 30, and I ended with 23.7 health, and he barely died with negative 0.1. Then I can go ahead and do a save game. You can see that saved. Then I can go back to lists if there's anything else I should really go off of. Let's go ahead and go to shop function. And we're going to go to Marty's Mart. And we're going to buy. And you can see that you have the item quantity, you know, so on and so forth. It tells you what he has, bread, normal. And then these are the relevant stats. So it's bread, it's normal quality, it's food, weight and size again, you know, aren't being tracked, materials aren't being tracked. This is all later on down the road. And then this is just like the flavor text, a normal loaf of bread. Quantity 1. Am I sure I want to buy it for 3 gold? Yes. And there we go. So now I can also save again, and yes. And then I have the overwrite function, so because I'm John Smith again and I already saved. There we go. And let's see if there's anything else. Inventory is pretty much the same thing. You can equip and unequip. Cheat or anyone over author. I guess I can do that. It's not fully fleshed out. Actually, there's going to be some things to add to that, so I won't go over that now. But that's how you, without Excel and without Notepad, you add items. For me, it's a little bit of an easier way than going through both. What it'll do is it will basically know what fields need to go there, and it'll add the fields for you. So you just go through and fill it out and type it out. And then we can also do the whole go to, which is probably actually the main function. So this is, again, the main part of the reader. So this is an example title, this is an example body, DU, and then these are your choices. So what choice do I want to go to? I want to go to page 2. Okay, and then this is the second page. This would be the second page text, and obviously the text can be longer. And then I can go back to page 1, and then I can quit, and then go here, and then once I'm in this function, I, for example, could go to inventory. But you know, down the road, these will all be connected. So you won't have to go out to main to go to inventory, and you won't have to go from combat to main, and from main to go to and whatever. And also in combat, you're not going to have to type in your opponent's stats. That's all going to pull in from the book and everything, and it'll be all more integrated. But I just want to give you guys a showcase example of what's to come. So if you are interested, please let me know. Please let me know what functions you want. Please let me know if you're interested more in the programming side of it, because hey, I'm trying to make this open source, so you know, if you are good with Python, which is what this is all written in, I will gladly take it, because this entire project is meant to teach me Python. And also, if you have a creative spirit and you like writing, I need a book to test all this with, because right now it's 3 pages of really boring text. I'm just basically trying to build the quote-unquote like game engine, and I would need other people to write the books. So if you're interested, please let me know. I will take it. Thank you. Have a good day.